stepmother stalks my child online before we even know she exists. Backstory: I met my wifey in high school and she was 6 months pregnant at the time. The bio father DBD was a complete deadbeat, and the only reason I even met the two of them is because my friend was sleeping with DBD behind wifey's back and wanted to introduce me to him. When the baby DD was born, DBD dropped out of school and changed his number to avoid wifey and the new baby. By the time DD was 8 months old, wifey and I had started dating. We graduated together, moved across the state to college, and went on with our lives as a happy little family. Fast forward 5 years, we have never heard from DD, and until DD was 3.5, she and wifey still technically lived with wifey's mom on bricks and such in the same house they had always been, just a few blocks from DD. Out of the blue, he sends us a message on FB asking to have DD over for the weekend. Apparently he had gotten his new girlfriend pregnant and they had rushed to get married. Now the new wife, we'll call her Psycho, wanted DD to have his daughter back. It had been 5 years. She didn't know him, and we didn't know what to say at first. Out of curiosity, we checked out both DBD and Psycho's profiles, and I nearly fainted. For nearly a year, Psycho had been collecting photos of DD from anyone's profile that would share a picture of her. Not only that, she was posting them on her profile as if she had been the one to take them. This included shots from a Mother's Day photo shoot we had paid for. The photographer posted some of the shots with her watermark on her page before we even got the shots back, and Psycho copied them all to post on her profile, saying it was the best Mother's Day gift ever. Her baby was not yet born. Scared and angry, we found it best to ignore their request. There was no way we could get DD to go along with spending the weekend at a stranger's house anyway, so they sued us for full custody and child support. WTF. All heck broke loose when wifey was served papers at work. Immediately, we shut down our FB profiles because that's how Psycho knew where to send the papers, and told all our friends and family to take down any pictures of DD. But that wasn't enough to stop her. Turns out, in addition to stealing photos, Psycho also made several fake profiles to add friends and family and get information about us. We never added anyone we didn't know, but other family members had. There were 7 fake profiles altogether. When we had them all removed and reported, Psycho started sending her friends and family to attempt to add us and gather more information about us. She showed up at DD's Christmas show at school when we didn't even tell them where she went to school. She repeatedly showed up at wifey's work to try to get her in trouble and called the cops on us for several false incidents. The reasons listed by the lawyer for seeking full custody were because we're lesbians, and that's bad for kids. We abused DD. Never once in her life we do drugs. Even offered to do a piss test, but she wouldn't spring for it since we would all have to foot that bill. Well, based solely on the fact that over 5 years prior he had signed the VAP, DBD got visitation rights. Wifey retained primary custody because, and visits were begun slowly so DD could get to know DBD. Eventually, it moved to every other weekend for the whole weekend, but DD never made it the whole weekend. They made her sleep on the floor in their basement, so she never liked staying there for more than a night. The custody settled, we opened a case for support, and of course DBD tried everything he could not to be responsible for support. When he ducked out over 5 years ago, we never asked him for a dime, but they wanted all this, so we did it all. You wouldn't believe the excuses he tried. Even though they won, Psycho didn't stop trying to destroy our names online and attempting to turn everyone from high school still in our hometown against us. She wanted the happy little family, and DD was throwing a wrench in her plans by not calling her mommy right from the get-go. When they showed up at her spring concert uninvited, Psycho demanded DD take her around and introduce her, so DD introduced them as her step-parents. Both of them she had just turned 6 and was still a little confused by the whole thing. Oh, that was another thing. Because she and DD had the same birthday, Psycho insisted she's supposed to be mine. That's why she came early. One night when DD was at their house, we get the usual call to come and get her, only it was Psycho's mom on the phone and not DD. They lived with Psycho's parents and neither drove, so her parents had to take them everywhere. When we get to the pickup point, DD is in tears and DD helps into his in-laws truck without an explanation. Turns out, Psycho lost her cool when DD didn't want to stay the night again, so she sat DD down and read her the custody agreement line for line. Then, she looked that 6-year-old angel in the eye and told she could have her mama that's me arrested anytime she wanted to for not complying with the custody agreement. Psycho was convinced the only reason DD wouldn't like her is because we told her not to. Dude, I don't want her to like wifey's mom either, but I have no say in who my daughter cares for. for? Well, for the next week I get to force Didi onto the school bus in tears because she's convinced I will get arrested while she's at school and I won't be there waiting for her in the afternoon. Gods, just typing that out breaks my heart all over again. Thanks for that, psycho. But this story ends with some poetic justice. Maybe they were tired for fighting with a little girl. Maybe she realized just how badly she had messed up. Who knows? But before the next visitation, we got an email from our lawyer explaining DVD wanted to sign over his rights. It had only been 3 months since he enacted them and allow me to formally adopt Didi. We were ecstatic. Obviously, we agreed and everything fell into place. She never had to see them again, and wifey and I could shoulder the online attacks and occasional face-to-face confrontation from everyone in their family, seeing them as the victims. Life got back to normal and we began to heal. But their story wasn't finished. 2 weeks ago, I got a message from DVD's sister-in-law who never really took part in the harassment. She's married to his younger brother and just had their first baby. She was hoping we would consider letting Didi get to know her baby since they are biologically cousins. That isn't the way we see family in this house, but I understand other people put an emphasis on DNA. It turns out the 3 kids Psycho ended up having with DVD are no longer allowed to visit a side of the family, and Didi is the only biological cousin left. Why? Because DVD raped an 11-year-old girl he and Psycho were supposed to be babysitting. He went to prison and Psycho divorced him, banning his entire family from seeing any of the kids. My heart bleeds for the little girl who had her life ruined, but I am human, so forgive me when I say after watching that Psycho twist my little girl all up inside, I feel satisfied with her serving of karma. Most of this may have been about child support. People hear about others collecting huge monthly child support checks and want their kids for the checks and housing allowance and food stamps. It's sad. They probably thought it would provide a financial means to move out of her parents' house if they were collecting for 2 kids. But as soon as they found out he would have to pay you, he wanted to sign those rights over to get out of paying child support. That crazy stepmother sounds like a lady my mom's friend dated. That bitch was absolutely insistent her boyfriend's kids call her mom and was just really creepy, trying to force them to be one big happy family. He broke it off with her after his job made him move. I am glad he moved to another state entirely. God knows what that woman would do if he'd stayed. I don't understand how you were unable to get restraining orders against Psycho. Take screenshots of the FB posts and get records of all of the harassment. Get character witnesses, and Didi could also testify too. She may be 6, but kids are amazingly honest and there are ways to get the real truth without coercion. I feel like the 2 of you could have saved yourselves 2-3 years of headache if you had just sought counsel. So this is events up more than an advice one, but I would be careful here. Maybe DVD's family are horrified at his actions and will want nothing to do with him ever. And maybe they don't believe he is really all that bad. You don't want someone in your daughter's life who will eventually facilitate a reunion with daddy. My family of choice has no biological relationship to me any more than you do to your Didi, but you are still her mom, as I am their mom, auntie, grandma, sister. Your daughter will not lack from not having a relationship with one particular person. Find other families with kids her own age and see them often. She'll have extended family soon enough. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos. Stay with Reddit is awesome.